bucks, and I was like, that can't be right. I know I slept longer than that.
Well, I was wondering while I was so tired this morning, and I didn't even remember that it was like fall back or whatever until much later in the day because of like my cell phone. Like every clock basically that I have automatically set itself.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I was like we were playing Halo last night till 2 a.m. but it was really 3 a.m. Like oh, so instead of 5 hours of sleep, I only actually got 4. That's why I feel horrible today.
I don't know what you're talking about. We played until 2 a.m. But
Man,
that was already after the clock had set itself back.
it's kind of like a time warp. I don't even actually know how to calculate that.
Oh, I can do it. It's a simple equation. Engineering knowledge.
Nice, nice. Well, maybe you can put some of that engineering knowledge to work on today's show because we are live. So this is a pretty good milestone, guys. Episode 25 of the World Map Podcast today. That's a big deal, man. And our downloads have been looking decent. You know, we're not like Giant Bombcast or anything yet, but we're ticking up like slowly. So thanks
Just
to everybody who's been downloading.
got a notification on my phone that's a bit relevant to this. It says that Joshua DeLong, the World Map Podcast, episode 25, is live streaming on YouTube right now.
Oh, nice. Wait, are you like subscribed on YouTube so you just get the push notifications?
Yep.
Well, hey, everyone should go do that.
I know, right? That's how I stay informed.
Indeed, indeed. Well, welcome to the World Map Podcast. This is your weekly dose of everything that could be on the map in this world in terms of gaming, nerd stuff, you know, movies, comics, books, TV shows. We talk about all of it, but mostly we talk about gaming and what we've been playing this week and do a little debates from time to time on games. We don't always agree, but we always agree that we love doing some gaming. So I'm one of your hosts, Josh, and joining me as always and eating a snack as always is Clark.
Hello there.
And also joining us, our other host, Nick.
Breaking away from Netflix for this cast right now.
Yeah, it's about time, man. You've been a little AWOL on that Netflix.
You know, got to get all them achievements. Got an Xbox One, and there's achievements for Netflix. I might as well
Are there really? I thought you were joking. Is that a true
there are
thing?
seriously achievements for Netflix.
Oh my god.
It's been hard.
Oh
I'm
my
trying
God.
to watch Netflix every day now just to get. You got to watch it for 30 days in a row, and that's really hard because sometimes I just don't want to watch it.
It's really hard for everybody except you.
Nah.
Man. Well, I guess we could go ahead and jump right into what we've been playing this week and talk a little bit about what we've been clearing out of our backlog. And I think, you know, we know this past week was Halo 5 launch week. That's the big thing to talk about this week. So we'll probably spend a good amount of time on that. So I think we should let Clark go first and let him talk a little bit about what he's been playing this week, because it was not Halo 5, but something a little retro.
Indeed, indeed. Well, not only was this Halo 5 week, but it was also Halloween weekend. And whenever it comes to be Halloween, I like to play Zombies Ate My Neighbors for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Also downloadable on the Wii Virtual Console, not the Wii U, Wii Virtual Console. And
Because that makes sense.
yeah, well, you can get it on the Wii U by going to Wii Mode, and then the Wii Shop channel in the Wii Mode and downloading it there.
I'm doing like a really hard Picard facepalm right now.
All right, I'll send you my friend code. Anyway, you know, I play it at least once a year, usually around Halloween, about the week before, and it's great. It's basically it was made by LucasArts, published by Konami, and you just play.
By the way, two companies that really aren't making games anymore.
I know, right? One of them not by choice, and the other because it doesn't really exist.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't know if you've ever watched any of those old B-movie horror movies, like Attack of the Body Snatchers or the 20-Foot Tall Woman, or, you know, just any old zombie movie, really. or Mars Attacks, any kind of ridiculous space movie. And it basically takes all of those and puts them in video game form. You have an isometric over-the-top view, and you're just trying to save your neighbors, and you're using cans of soda and squirt guns and stuff as this kid wearing 3D glasses, the 80s style 3D glasses, just blowing up zombies and stuff. And it is ridiculously addicting. I can't even describe how great it is. And the best part is couch co-op. You can play 2 players simultaneously on the same screen, sitting on the same couch or not, couch optional. And it's something I think everybody should try. I don't know, have either of you tried it?
Yeah, I played back in the day actually on the SNES. And yeah, I know that I played it. I know that I enjoyed it, but I can't remember specifics well enough. I think you may have convinced me to go back and give it a try though. But it's funny you mentioned the split screen couch co-op because
it's not even split screen. It's on the same screen.
Same screen, yeah.
You gotta share that screen.
It's even sharing the screen on the same couch you can't do in a lot of modern games, including Halo. So.
I mean, if you want to hear the plot of the story as taken from, kind of the instruction manual, the mad scientist Dr. Tongue has created a wide variety of monsters within the bowels of his castle and unleashed them on nearby suburban areas, terrorizing its inhabitants.
You had me at bowels.
Indeed. And if that doesn't make you feel better, one of the playable characters' names is Zeke.
Nice. I like that. Awesome. Well, that sounds like a good retro recommendation. Everybody should go check out while they're still in the Halloween spirit. And then, so we mentioned it's Halo 5 week. Nick and I have been getting our multiplayer on, of course. That's a big Halo focus. Nick a little more than I have. I think he's up there in the mid-20s with his level. I'm around 14 or 15 right now in the multiplayer, and then we've been playing with our friend Steven as well as with He Who Shall Not Be Named, the third brother out of you two guys, and the 4 of us have been going through playing that 4-player sweet online co-op campaign on Legendary, the only way to do it, for Halo 5. Nick, I don't want to rain on everybody's Halo parade, so I'm going to let you give your impressions first.
Well, no, I think it's better for you to ruin it, and then I bring it back.
Okay. So, where to begin?
I should be a moderator.
I should have. Yeah, maybe we do this debate style or something. I don't know, but I feel like I should have written down.
You throw a topic out. You throw an insult out to the game, and I'll try to,
Okay. Now I should have written these down as I encountered them in the game because I know I'm going to forget some of the problems I have. But all right, let's start with the campaign, and then we'll go to multiplayer. But starting with the campaign. 80 to 90% of the game is playing as not Master Chief.
Real quick, I need to give you 2 minutes, and then Nick gets a 1-minute rebuttal, and then you get a 30-second counter rebuttal, or is?
No, I think we can keep it. We can keep it brief. We can keep it succinct.
Okay.
But that's my very first complaint is most of this game is not playing as Master Chief.
And I'm gonna agree with that. I'm not gonna try to throw a positive spin on that. I like me some Master Chief, and I don't get enough of him in this game.
Okay. All right. So fair criticism there. Okay. So more onto the campaign. The story makes very little sense if you have not immersed yourself in the Halo extended universe. If you've just played Halos 1 through 4 coming into this game, I feel like you have no clue really what's going on.
I'm going to disagree on that one. If you've played 4 and actually paid attention to 4, it makes a bit more sense. There are little details you're going to miss, but I believe the biggest reason you're having a problem with understanding the story is because we're playing it co-op, and so we're just talking and shooting the breeze during half of the the speaking parts of the campaign, cutscenes excluded.
You mean us making fun of all of the characters and calling Locke Kanye West and Tanaka making fun of Tanaka?
Well, I believe that's a big part of why you don't even understand what's going on.
Okay, so that's fair.
I got to say something real quick. I I don't know how. I haven't played Halo 5 yet, but I don't know how much that answer will hold water because when Nick and I played Destiny, we completely talked through all the cutscenes and everything, so I didn't understand it. When I replayed those missions and cutscenes, I still didn't understand it.
Let me go ahead and give a little more water to that argument then. I've been going through and playing single-player Legendary, following our multiplayer Legendary experience, and actually paying attention to what is being said. And it makes a lot more sense. Here's Destiny. See how my hand's on the screen? It's off the screen. There is no story. Here's Halo. It's in the story spectrum. There is one. So
Okay, yeah. I'll agree with that. Fair enough. And I will say we don't talk through all of the cutscenes because the one positive thing I have to say about the campaign, it's actually positive that leads to a negative. I could watch the cutscenes in Halo 5 like all day. Like they are hands down some of the best cutscenes I have ever seen in a video game. They're absolutely awesome. But at the same time, seeing that makes me want to do the things that I'm seeing. Like I want to, like, you know, then this is a spoiler. This is in like the very beginning of the game, but I want to rush down that hill and like use my Spartan power to jump up into a flying ship and punch some guys out and drop back out of it. You know, I want to go flying through space and shoot out a windshield of a spaceship and go flying into the landing area there, and like just all these cool things. Like, you know, the hand-to-hand combat between Locke and Master Chief. I get that it was really cool because of how it was choreographed, but if I had gotten to fight Master Chief as Locke, or even vice versa, it would have been an even cooler moment, perhaps. So I feel like they're showing you things that would be much more fun to actually do in some of this.
That's completely different than every other game with cutscenes.
Yeah.
I can agree with that there, but at the same time, if they changed up the Halo formula too much, you realize that Halo fans would have a riot. It's like, whoa, this is way too complicated. This isn't basic Halo. This is...
Okay.
But I do agree, some of those cutscenes are fantastic. Like that one where they're rushing down the hill, I would love to jump up on a ghost and not just take the ghost, just grab the guy driving the ghost, grab his head, and just smash it into the ground.
Yeah.
Just keep on running. So that, I mean, they are legit cutscenes.
Yeah, they're pretty sweet. So let's see. Other problems I have with the campaign. The levels feel actually a little Destiny to me. I'm used to Halo kind of occurring on a large battlefield, and I feel like instead we're moving through these like kind of cordoned off areas into large arenas and fighting a couple waves of enemies, and then moving through like a corridor into the next arena and fighting another wave of enemies. And it doesn't feel like it has quite that epic, like large-scale Halo battle type deal to me. Especially early game, as we are now like in the like latter third of the missions. I feel like it has opened up a little bit, but the early part of the game was kind of boring me a little bit.
Yeah, I can see your arguments there about it being kind of confined, but to the game's defense, we were inside of a small space station, so there's really not a lot of open space inside of a small space station.
Yeah. I think it's the level design actually is just like a little boring to me in the early parts of the game, but I will say it gets a lot better as you go on. I don't know. And then the other weird thing to me is that they threw boss fights into this Halo, and they've kind of had that before, but it was more like you got to like jump up on the Scarab and take it out and that kind of thing. This has like this, you know, this actual enemy, like this actual boss, this actual character that you're fighting multiple times throughout the ends of some of the missions. And it doesn't feel that Halo to me. Again, it feels a little Destiny. I wonder if 343 was like kind of looking over their shoulder at Bungie some while they were making this game.
Well, Halo 2 had boss fights also. That stupid giant brute, you fought him a couple times through the campaign, and then the last level ended with a big boss fight with him. So, I mean, they've had boss fights since Halo 2, just they kind of eased back from Halo 2. But I could see some of that. Here's an issue you haven't brought up that I'm going to bring up. Textures in campaign.
Oh my god! So this game is, I'm sure it will get patched, but it doesn't have quite the polish that I feel like other Halo games have had at launch. You're definitely spot on there. I mean, we've seen several areas where the ground completely disappears and becomes invisible and you can just fall endlessly.
Yeah, I was actually doing some research on why why the game has texture issues like that. I don't know. There was no explanation to why parts of the level would disappear, and I'm not seeing a lot of people complaining about that. But where if you're looking off in the distance or you're seeing things, the textures kind of get all kind of weird and very low quality, and that's because they've incorporated 60 frames per second into like the game's physics, to where it has to run at that, and that's another reason why there's not couch co-op in this game, split screen. And so they really can't just. I read they really can't just patch that because it's like integrated in the physics there.
It's weird though. They took out some of that functionality that we've had in previous Halo games, which feels sort of like they're kind of taking things away from us that they gave us before, which is kind of annoying. But they say they did that so that the game would run more smoothly, whatever. And then we're seeing these texture issues. But also, I feel like Halo 5 is one of the worst looking games that I have seen this generation, whereas Halo 4 was one of the best looking games of last generation I had seen. But man, especially online and some of the multiplayer maps, but just overall, this game does not have a lot of good detail in the art, and you know it's really kind of like low res, kind of fuzzy looking textures in a lot of places. I feel not impressed by it graphically, especially after playing something like The Last of Us Remastered recently, or just really anything that's come out recently this generation. It doesn't look as good to me.
What I've noticed about the way the graphics work on this game, I think there is good detail in it, but at the same time, there's not. It's really weird. I've noticed, and I don't know if you've noticed this, the texture drops don't really seem to happen close. They're more distant drop. You look at the distance and they're gone. But if you're around, like if you're in a room, a basic room, everything looks pretty detailed, looks pretty good, but it doesn't keep that consistent throughout. And so that's the big problem I had with it.
I agree with that. Although some of the foliage looked a little pixelated to me up close, a little rough. And I think so. I think the only, I guess I'll stop shitting on Halo 5 after I say one more thing about the campaign that I don't like, and that's that I feel like the missions, they're I don't know, actually off the top of my head, I think about 15 missions in the game, but that's kind of padded a little bit because every couple of missions you get these things where it's just a base camp and you're walking around kind of like where you used to before you go into a big battle in Mass Effect 2 and 3, and you'd walk around and talk to everybody a little bit, and that would be sort of like a level. Some of the quote-unquote missions in Halo 5 are just these base camp levels where you walk around and talk to people for a couple minutes, and then you jump in a Pelican and fly off to the next mission, and it gives you an achievement, it counts it as a mission, but it doesn't take that long to play, and it's not even really fun. We weren't even. Yeah, and you can't talk to everybody. You can talk to 2 specific people, and we were not even really doing that so much as we were just running around looking for the intel hidden in those levels. And
it says there's 15 levels in the game, but realistically there's about 11.
Yeah. So I don't know. So I feel like Halo 5. I mean, I can't wait to finish the campaign, see where it goes, and I've had a lot of fun with it, but I feel like most of the fun that I've had is because it is a good game mechanically. As a core first-person shooter, it still plays very much like Halo. It still plays really well, I feel like. They did add in kind of the pull the left trigger in to do the iron sights thing, which I think works fine. I kind of like it in some ways, especially for scoped weapons. So I've had a lot of fun with it. I feel like a lot of it, though, has been because the core mechanics are still solid and because we're co-oping it, with folks we know, and it's kind of a fun, social thing. But those 2 points aside, everything else considered in this campaign, I feel like it's my least favorite Halo campaign so far that I've played out of all of them.
I didn't like ODST. That's it. That was my least favorite.
I didn't like that one so much.
I like the flashback missions, but not the wandering around the city.
What's the multiplayer like in Halo 5? Not the campaign multiplayer, but the competitive multiplayer.
All right, so I'm gonna start this one off since Josh over here took care of the last one, because I do have problems with this. I have problems with the game.
I have more problems with the multiplayer, but go ahead.
But I'm going to go ahead and start off with a positive note. The multiplayer is still Halo fun. It's still fun. It's Halo. It's good to play.
Agreed.
The negative. Where are the modes? There's like 5 modes to pick from. You've got
no. There's like
I'm breaking it down. Let me break it down.
Okay.
There's 5 options to pick from. Let me phrase it that way. There are 5 options to pick from in the main arena. We're not going to talk about Warzone yet, but the main arena, you've got SWAT, which is basically no shield slayer.
Except for it's with pistols and not battle rifles.
No. It depends on the level. If you play
Okay. The level I played was with pistols, and I was like, what is going on?
No. There's other levels that start out with battle rifles and DMRs and things. So it's the level is what you start out with. But SWAT, which is basically Team Slayer, no shields. Then you have Team Slayer, which is Team Slayer with shields. Free for all, which is Slayer, the same thing, just no teams. So there's 3 modes that are all basically the same. Then you've got we'll talk about the new mode in a minute, but we've got Team Arena, I think. Yeah, Arena.
Arena
is my biggest problem with multiplayer. Buried in Arena is every other game mode. It's got Capture the Flag. You can't access Capture the Flag in anywhere else. You just have to hope you get it in Arena. It's got the new variant of King of the Hill, which
it's what is it? It's called Stronghold. Is that right?
Yeah, there are 3 bases similar to Control in Destiny. Except in order to gain points, you have to hold 2 of them. It's not based on kills. You just have to hold 2 of the 3 points. And if you hold all 3, you get a little more points. But it's buried in there. And then, of course, it rotates Slayer. It doesn't rotate SWAT, interestingly enough. But it's all buried in this arena mode. I would like to go and pick Capture the Flag because it's personally one of my favorite modes.
Well, and out of what's buried in the arena mode is still not actually that many modes. There's no like oddball, there's no big team slayer, none of that stuff.
Yeah, arena mode is every other mode with the exception of free for all and SWAT, but it changes those 2 with the strongholds mode and capture the flag. So and the worst part is you can't select levels in this game. You can't vote on them like you've been able to do in
there's no map voting, which is absolutely annoying. Although we'll talk about it in a minute, but I don't know what map I would even vote for in this Halo. But
but I would vote for Capture the Flag.
Right.
Man, sometimes you get just Slayer 3 times in a row. If I wanted to play Slayer, I would have picked Slayer. Let me play Capture the Flag or something. So I have a big problem with that mode. But we'll go ahead and jump into Breakout, because that's a new mode added to the game, and it's actually it's really fun. It's good.
It's good. I like Breakout. It's good.
I'll let you kind of explain some of the mechanics of Breakout.
Yeah. So Breakout is 4v4 or 5v5. I think it's 4v4. Yeah, and it's basically like a I actually called it Blitzball from Final Fantasy X. It doesn't play like that at all, but that's what it reminds me of. You jump in, both teams jump in from opposite ends of an arena, and it's set up very much to look like one of those like paintball, like speedball courses or something like that. Like it's very much like made to look like this is some kind of sporting event. And it's 4v4. There are actually 2 ways to win a Breakout mode. Number 1 being kill all of the other team. You only get 1 life. So, if it's gets down to where like everyone on your team's dead, you're the last man standing, and there are still 3 guys on the other team alive. We've been in some pretty good modes where we've been successful at taking those 3 guys out and still winning the match. But that's kind of this like nice balance to it where like 1 guy can really tip the scales of the match.
Let me go ahead and throw in why that can be real quick. SWAT is basically 1 shot to the head, you're dead, and everybody knows typical Slayer, you got these nice overshields. Breakout's kind of right in between. It doesn't take a lot to kill somebody, so 1 guy can turn it around really quick. So that's why you can really bring it back. So I thought I'd throw that in there real quick.
Right, yeah, there are shields, but yeah, it's still easy to kill people. And also melee, this is the only I will say melee has been nerfed horribly. I was a guy who relied heavily on melee in all the previous Halos, and now like unless you use it in the exact way that they've now designed it to be used, melee is a little weaker, I feel like now. But in Breakout, melee is still a 1-hit kill.
Yeah, I disagree on the melee. Off top, the only thing that I feel they've messed up on melee, it used to have kind of a lunge effect, a short lunge effect.
Yeah.
I don't feel that anymore, but the strength
I agree.
Intact. But that lunge effect really did help you because you're close enough, you kind of lunge and get them, and now you just I missed him. He's right in front of me, and I missed him. But I feel like the strength is still about the same. You got to kind of unload, get their shields halfway down before you can kill them. So I feel like it's the same strength. It's just removing that lunge effect kind of.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Maybe without that lunge effect, I'm not able, because it used to take like maybe 2 or 3 hits at full shields. But I feel like I could make the hits faster and still kill somebody if I met them face to face before they could shoot me dead. And Melee was like a fast way to get a kill, and so maybe the animation's a little slower now or something. But while we're talking about it, one cool thing that they've added for Melee is if you're sprinting and you melee, there's now this nice like Spartan charge. And so you do lunge forward a long ways, and you kind of hit them in a way that knocks pretty much all their shields out and has some knockback effect. And if you come up behind them, you can still do an assassination if you're really close and hold down the melee button. But if you're sprinting behind someone kind of chasing them and you hit the melee button and do the Spartan charge into their back, it's still an instant kill. So that's actually one of the most satisfying ways that's really fun to kill people in the new Halo, is to get that Spartan charge like kind of right into the back of their head. But while we were talking about Breakout, so you can kill people to win the match and be the last team standing. Or there's a flag in the middle of the arena. You have to capture the flag, but take it to the enemy team's base, to their side. So that's
no radar in this mode, by the way.
Yeah, there's no radar in this mode, so you can try to be sneaky and like grab that flag and sneak it into their base, but a lot of times they're since they're all starting on that other side of the map and you're starting on the opposite side, it's very asymmetrical. Or symmetrical, I mean, you're coming at each other, so like just going and running and grabbing the flag and trying to get into their base, you're probably going to die. But if you get up where it's like maybe 4-on-2, then you're in a situation where like maybe somebody can cover you or can get the flag and finish running it into the base. So it becomes strategic about, are we just going to try to survive, or are we going to try to capture the flag and infiltrate the other base with it? So it's a really fun mode, and the matches go really fast. First team to 5 rounds, winning 5 rounds wins all of the match, and it's a lot of fun. I do like it, but again, it's one new mode where they've removed several of the older modes and not giving you the chance to actually choose some of the modes they kept.
Yeah, but on top of that, removing several modes, I'm gonna go ahead. I've been looking into this because it was very upsetting to me. Because Team Doubles is one of my favorites, and Big Team Slayer also has been. I know that Josh over here is going to have a complaint, so I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there. There's no maps in the game other than Warzone where there are vehicles on the map. So I'm going to throw that out there, and that's a complaint. But that was always a Big Team Slayer thing. So I've been reading into it, and they have announced they are bringing Big Team Slayer. They're going to bring Griffball. They're going to bring Team Doubles sometime in the coming month, like a month or two. In that, I'm expecting a lot of these to come out when Forge comes out in early December. It's rather frustrating that they don't have them when the game launches.
Well, I mean, once I finish the campaign, like I'm not going to be logging into Halo quite as often. So I would like to have. It would have kept me with the game longer if the modes I liked were in there, and like knowing. Like, am I going to really come back in a month and try the new modes out when Fallout 4's out, Tomb Raider's out, I'm getting back into Metal Gear? Like, I don't know. I mean, maybe some.
Yeah. So.
But, yeah, I mean, the lack of... It's not just the lack of, like, Big Team Slayer and Slayer-type maps with vehicles that bothers me. It's the fact that even on the mode that has vehicles, they're not actually on the map to use. And so we talked about...
There's some mongooses on the map.
Mongoose is horrible. Although there is a mongoose variant in Halo 5 that has a gun, like a little rocket or grenade launcher type gun on the front of it. It's kind of slow, but it's pretty decent, so that's cool. But yeah, I mean, so we talked about there are the arena modes, and we talked about everything that is, the few options that are within those arena modes, and those are kind of your like typical ranked matches sort of thing. And then there's the
wait. You said ranked. Let me go ahead and throw a complaint about the ranking that I forgot all about. The ranking system on this game, I was promised a good ranking system that is based on skill, and they did not deliver.
No, they did not.
The system is it's got a 7 basically tier ranking system from bronze all the way up into champion, and it's not based on skill at all. It's based on how many wins you have, and so if I'm gold, I'm rocking 20 kills a match with 5 deaths, but my team sucks balls and dies, and we lose every match. I can be placed all the way down in Bronze League, and I'm way better than people on the other team. So that's a huge problem. Plus, another problem I have with it, when you get placed in an initial category, like Bronze, Platinum, Silver, whatever, you got to rank up Bronze 1, Bronze 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you go to the next category. It gives you no progress bar on where you lie in that. So you're just playing matches, and then all of a sudden, oh, look, I'm Platinum 2. I have no idea, how many I needed to get there. And then, you play a few more, and it just gives you a little arrow saying you're increasing. What does that mean? And then I lose, and I go back down to Platinum 1. There's no progress indicator. So I have a huge problem with the way the ranking system is done in this game.
Yeah, and then one thing about the arena modes that I wanted to mention is just how small the maps are. The game has essentially changed. Nick, you mentioned that it's still fun, Halo multiplayer. I definitely agree, but it has become, the thing I always liked about Halo is that you could be a little more strategic and methodical in your multiplayer approach than something like Call of Duty, where it's just very twitch, very fast. Run, die, respawn, run, shoot, die, kill, respawn, and it's this really fast cycle. And Halo has become that a little bit with Halo 5 because the matches, the maps, there's no outdoor maps. The maps are all inside of these buildings and on these industrial sort of layouts, and they're very, very, very small. There's just there's not even a map that I would call medium sized. In Arena, and so that bothers me quite a bit.
I'll go ahead and throw something else about the maps, and it kind of like a theory I have about why that is. See, I played Halo 4. Halo 4 had those outdoor maps; they were really nice, but Halo 4's maps were way too big, massively big. You couldn't even find people on big team. There was no way, and so I feel like they kind of heard the complaints and then you compensated for that, overshrunk it. It's okay, the maps are too big. We need to, reduce the size so people find each other, and they just took it to a whole new level. Though I'm hoping the 15 free maps they've already promised everyone are going to be more open. Plus, once Forge comes out, the community's going to have a field day with Forge and make all kinds of maps. And if anybody's seen anything about the new Forge mode, the videos they've released, it's massive. You can make maps as big as you want, basically. So I'm very hopeful for what is going to be coming in the future. Just why not initially give us a couple medium-ranged ones? The sniper
you have the remake of Blood Gulch from Master Chief Collection. Just fucking port it over.
Yeah. I don't know how you feel about it, but the sniper rifle. I mean, snipers are snipers. They're cool, but
it's pointless. There's no reason to pick up a sniper rifle at all in Halo.
I'm going to go ahead and disagree there. If you're a boss with a sniper rifle, like that guy we played the other day,
if you're a good no-scoper, yeah.
But there's no. If you zoom in, you effectively just focused on a tiny, tiny piece of the level, when before, when you pick up a sniper on a sniper level, you could zoom in and you focused on that area. Now it's just, you're looking down a corridor, and that's about as, useful as it gets to me. So I agree with all that right there. Though I want to go ahead and reiterate, the game is really fun. We don't hate it. It's a really good game.
Yeah, it is. I just... by Halo standards, it's I don't know. It's it is, but is it the most fun or even in the top 3 Halo experiences I've had? I'm gonna say so far no. It could be like Destiny and become something totally different a year later, but I am just so tired of people doing that. But so we talked about the arena modes. Let's talk about Warzone, which you select totally separately from the multiplayer screen. So when you go in the multiplayer menu, you select whether you want to play arena modes or if you want to play Warzone modes. And there are two Warzone modes. One of them is basically head-to-head, 2 big teams going against each other to try and capture locations and eventually destroy the other team's core. So one's on defense, one's on offense.
And can I speak a little more to that mode? How many times have you played that mode?
Well, I've played both versions of Warzone quite a few times. So there is that version that's just player versus player, which is fine. I feel like most people though are playing the Warzone mode with AI also in the mix, which I just call Halo Titanfall.
Well, here's why I would say most people are playing that mode. Because the assault mode, that's what the mode that's just PvP Warzone based. I feel like that mode is hugely flawed.
Yes.
See, there are 3 levels in Warzone. Both Warzone variants have the same 3 levels. There's a snow level, a jungle level, and then kind of out on a beach area. I don't really know how to describe it, but so there are 3 basic modes, levels, not modes to it. But on assault mode, if you get the snow level and you're the attacking team, you're basically at the biggest disadvantage because the first place you have to take over is this giant fortress, and the only way you can start to take it over is if every single enemy unit is out of that building. And so it's so big, some can just go hide in corners and run the clock down, and then you lose. But then on the flip side, if you get the jungle type level where there's this big spire in the middle, if you're the defending team on that level, it's almost impossible to defend it unless you have a fantastic team because there are so many entry points and it's so small that they can just wipe you off of it. So I feel like there's not a lot of balance.
It's hugely unbalanced. I agree wholeheartedly with you there. I haven't played any of those PvP Warzone maps that wasn't just like a massive landslide one way or the other based on which map it was. None of them have been close.
So yeah, but so that's about all I have to say about that Warzone one. We'll get to like Rex and all that other crap. We'll go ahead and talk about the dominant Warzone variant.
Yeah. So that one, I said Halo Titanfall for a couple of reasons. One, because their AI on the map, in addition to the actual human players. The only difference is in Titanfall, the AI are like minions for each team. In this, the AI, you have some of those like just regular Marines, like Halo Marines, who are on your team as kind of like minions. They're pretty much useless. Like they die really fast. But you also have AI spawning in the form of Forerunners and Covenant. And there are sort of just your typical average everyday ones who are worth a few points if you kill them.
Probably explain what points are, because I don't think we've mentioned
that. So in Warzone, you win by either having the most points when the clock runs out.
There's no clock time.
That's right. You win by getting 1,000 points, right?
Yeah.
So you either get 1,000 points, and that's done by holding areas or by killing AI enemies or people. And then you can also win by destroying the enemy's core.
But to do that, you have to take over all 3 of the bases on the map.
Right. Yeah. So you can't go into their home base and destroy their core unless you own all the other buildings on the map. So it's interesting because there are multiple ways to win, and that's kind of cool and whatnot. But it's super, super flawed right now because you don't get points awarded to you based on how much damage you deal to the AI bosses. You get whichever team gets the last hit gets all the points. And so what happened to us so many times while we were playing is we would, nail away on this boss who's worth like 100+ points, for most of the game, and then like one of the enemies would come in and deliver like one little tiny like hit or throw a grenade at him to get the last kill, and just take like all the points that we had worked for, and it would just shift the balance of who was winning, so dramatically. It's like kind of ridiculous. But the other big problem with this is, like I mentioned before, there are no vehicles on the map that you can really use. And this is another way that it's like Titanfall. If you played Titanfall, you know that there was this concept of burn cards, which you select before you go into the game and kind of equip them, and then you can be like, oh, I want to burn, this special ability, or I want to bring this weapon in. And this is how Halo now works. If you want a vehicle, you have to do really, I guess, 3 things. One, you have to be to the point in the game where you're allowed to call in the level of vehicle you want. And so a Mongoose, for example, is a level 1 requisition. They call them Rex, short for requisition, while like a Ghost is a level 3 requisition. So if you haven't progressed in the game to level 3 yet, you can't ever call in a Ghost. Secondly, to get the Ghost, once you are able to call in level 3 Rex, you have to have a card in your inventory that you've earned from playing multiplayer or purchased through microtransaction, by the way. There are now microtransactions in Halo. You have to use that level 3 card to call in the Ghost. And then you have to like use the card, and it spawns in your base, and you just magically materialize inside of it and kind of come out of a little garage in your base. So that like fluid, like rushing for the vehicles and like trying to control areas of the map where vehicles were going to be, and like just kind of being like on the run from somebody and finding a vehicle and jumping in it and turning around and kind of turning around the course of the battle. Like all that is gone now. I feel like it just kind of slows the game down and makes it a little annoying.
Well, see, I'm going to disagree on that right there. I mean, everything you said, it is true if you remove the opinionated part, but but I do agree. I would like to see that kind of you run, rush the vehicles, there's a tank on the map, wait for it to spawn, things like that. I'm hoping they'll bring that back in Big Team. But for this mode, first off, the cards are extremely simple to get. You can buy these packs with in-game currency just basically every other round. You can buy a pack that gives you a bunch of random cards. And so they're fairly easy to get there. And you can also still, if you don't have a card, there's always some douchebag flying around, a Banshee or some freaking tank on that map. You just jump in there and take it from them. So you can still do that, and they're a lot easier to take in this game. Like, it's so much easier to jump and destroy a tank than it has ever been, because we haven't mentioned this earlier, but they've added this weird thruster boost to your Spartan that you can use every few seconds, and so you can do like a quick jump boost and like shoot over on a tank real fast and just destroy it there. But I kind of like that dynamic of being able to just call in vehicles whenever you want. I would like to see some on the map too. I said I'd agree with that, but I do like the ability to call them in, because then you get some really crazy battles towards the the last third of the match when everybody's basically got higher rec status, I'd say, and so you get like 5 tanks on the map at once, and it gets pretty insane sometimes. Like, I was playing earlier today, and there were 3 enemy tanks, and I went by and I'd blow one up, run behind a rocket on it, jump, blow another one up, blow a third one up, and nothing's more satisfying than just like destroying a row of tanks single. So, I mean, I really like the way it goes. I will wholeheartedly agree about that stupid boss thing. I mean, I did that. I was that douche earlier. It's like the enemies. I ran to the field there and just camped there. There was an army of the enemy forces just shooting one of the bosses, and I had a railgun just waiting. I waited till its life was almost nothing, shot it. Your team killed the boss, and I'm sure the enemy team was ticked because we won the game. But so I agree with the way the bossing said. I don't think that's really balanced too much. Maybe it should be based on the damage, like you said, split them points up, something like that. But I kind of do like being able to call in vehicles, though I'd like to see some on the map like natively too.
Yeah, it's funny. This is almost like I don't know, like a first-person shooter MOBA, the Warzone match, because you've got kind of like the cores you're trying to destroy for the enemies and stuff. It's interesting the way that works. So I don't know. It's I guess one of the only other things we haven't talked about. You mentioned that they added that the B button does that nice boost mechanic, and it's basically used as a dodge, and so you can dodge left or right, forward, back, depending on how you're holding on the stick. The other new move, aside from the Spartan charge thing that we mentioned earlier, is a ground pound. So there is now a ground pound in Halo 5.
We're not talking Titan-type ground pounds from Destiny that are extremely useful at all points.
No, these are not useful at all. They're so cool and they're so fun, and I keep like getting myself killed because I really want to successfully pull them off, and every now and then I do, but like, basically, you need to be pretty high up above someone so they don't realize that you're actually there, and then you hold the melee button while you're in the air, and you charge the ground pound, and you can kind of use the stick to target where you're going to land. The problem is, like, that charge up takes a little while you're hovering in the air, so if anyone sees you at all, you're dead meat. Like, they're going to shoot you out of the air while you're stuck hovering there.
They're very situational.
And it has to be, like, fully charged and very accurately on an enemy to kill them when you land. So a lot of times if you land like beside of them, you might damage their shields a little bit, but they're probably just going to kill you because you're kind of like in that delayed moment after you pound. So it's a really cool thing, but honestly, I would just rather have my jetpack back.
Screw that jetpack.
or even armor lock would be cool.
We're never going to Armor lock was the worst thing to ever come into Halo series. Rocket launchers does not reflect 180 and kill the guy.
So Nick, anything else in Halo 5 that we've left out that you feel like we need to cover? I feel like we've given a pretty comprehensive look at all of the things that they've added and taken away, and what's going on with Halo 5.
They've added a lot of armor to the game. You can really make your Spartan look however you want to make him look, as long as you unlock all that crap. But
Right, yeah, it's true. That's the other part of the Rex that we didn't mention. I mean, you get weapons and vehicle cards and things to call in during the Warzone mode, but you can also get like XP boost Rex, and then some of the cards are also permanent Rex. They give you weapon skins, armor skins, helmet skins, visor skins, all that kind of stuff that you expect in a Halo game. So I don't know, Nick. I agree.
One thing you haven't mentioned. I know it's your favorite part of the game.
What's that?
On the main menu, you have the option to go to the Halo channel.
Oh God, I went to the Halo channel and it just looked like it was a bunch of like trailers from YouTube or something. It looked pointless.
There, it's you.
Is Halo Waypoint even still a thing? Like, I actually thought that was kind of cool to like go back and see what I had done through all of the Halo games, and I was hoping like all of that would carry over, but it looks like it hasn't.
I think they merged it. But anyway, you were gonna say something before I interrupted you with your favorite Halo channel.
Well, no, I guess I just wanted to get your final evaluation of Halo 5, where you feel like it stands in the series, and if you had to stick some kind of rating to it. I mean, I think I just want to make it clear where we stand on this game, because we've crapped on it a ton, but you said you're still obviously having fun with it. So what's your final opinion of Halo 5?
Well, in terms of the series, I'm going to go ahead and just say plain right now. I'm not going to go initial experience. I do think it's better to play the multiplayer of this game. It's better than Halo 1, 2, and 4, I would say. Reach and 3 are still the best in the multiplayer for me. But overall, I think the game lies somewhere in the middle of the Halo series for me, just in terms of overall quality. If I'm not thinking about what they've promised to add to it in the coming months and how it sits right now, I'd probably give it somewhere up around a 8 out of 10 right there for me. I really do like it, but it does have its flaws. But the core is so fun. The core gameplay is so fun, and the multiplayer still has that fun Halo that I just can't justify giving it anything a little lower than that for me, because I can still just play it and have a blast.
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything you said there. I think you're right in that. I mean, certainly a modern game, right, is a big evolution from what Halo 1 or 2 was. And you know, to me, Halo 1, I actually thought the level design in Halo 1 was pretty horrible, because I would always get lost in every single level. But so I do feel like it's an evolution. But it is, I agree, somewhere in the middle of the pack for me, at least right now at launch, which that's all we have to evaluate it on right now, right? If they wanted us to evaluate what it was going to be, they should have put all that in there. Yeah. But I'd probably go a little lower, maybe a 7. You know, I can say it's not going to be on my Game of the Year list. It's not going to be on that short list, but it's still very fun, very fun.
I don't know. They're going to add all that stuff in by early December. It might turn around before the end of the year.
Hey, yeah, well, wait till we get to the news. There's some other stuff coming for another game that I love that's already out coming too.
Destiny?
Yeah, not Destiny. I did want to not really talk about it because I can't, because I had signed an NDA, but I did get into the Xbox One version of the Battleborn beta, which is published by 2K. It's Gearbox Software's new game that's going to be coming out soon. So you know Gearbox and 2K for Borderlands. I can't talk about it. I can't review it. I can't stream it or share screenshots of Battleborn, the beta. I will say just that if you are a fan of Borderlands and you really want more Borderlands, then you might want to keep your eye on this game. So, if you wish that Gearbox would deviate and do something at least a little bit different from Borderlands, it might not end up being for you. We'll see. So let's go ahead then and move on to news this week and call in the news motorcycle. So some news coming out this week, especially from the PlayStation front, because they were at Paris Games Week and Sony made several announcements there. But one thing that was interesting that came out of that is that Shuhei Yoshida, President Sony Studios Worldwide, said that the PS4 will never have backwards compatibility because of PS3's unique architecture. I think it's actually because we want to sell PlayStation Now subscriptions. we want to rent games, right? It's no secret that the PS3's architecture was tough to develop for. But at the same time, I feel like this is a little bit of a cop-out, and I feel a little frustrated by it just because I wasn't a PS3 owner. You guys probably, like Clark, you probably don't care because you have a PS3 still. But I look at what I get with Games with Gold now that Microsoft has added backwards compatibility for those digital games. And now I get to actually play the 360 games that come out free every month on Games with Gold on my Xbox One if I want to, but I can't play the PS3 games on my PS4 with my PS Plus subscription. So it's a little annoying to me that they won't just like find a way to add this in, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
I disagree with them. I mean, well, I agree that the architecture is so different that, making it to where on the system itself they can emulate the games locally would be something that can't happen. You do have the ability to play PS3 games via PlayStation Now. That's your ticket to backwards compatibility. Just set it up such that if you have a PS3 disc, you don't have to rent the game. It just streams the game.
Right, or if you subscribe to Plus and it's a free game that month, same thing.
Exactly. No, I agree with you. I agree with that completely. That's how they can implement backwards compatibility. The architecture's already there, and then that's just PS3 backwards compatibility. That's not even taking into account PS1 and PS2, which the unique architecture of the PS3 wouldn't matter for those cases. I mean, the PS1 classics play on the Vita, so
right.
I mean,
which, as a matter of fact, I think they've started running out of Vita games to give out on PS Plus, and they've resorted to giving out old PSP games now. But
yeah, so
yeah, all right. So I guess we're all in agreement with that, and wish that Sony would figure something out there. But another cool thing, exclusive on consoles anyway. Of course, it's a PC game as well. But Rocket League, one of my favorite games this year. It's the gift that just keeps on giving, man. It was free on PS Plus. There's been a ton of free DLC. There's also paid cosmetic DLC, which is exactly the right way to do microtransactions and DLC. Exactly. It's like make it cosmetic, don't make it affect the game, that kind of thing. But more free DLC coming out was announced for Rocket League in November and December, including some new game modes. So we're getting Moonball, we're getting a hockey mode, and several other modes that were announced. I'm going to be Rocket League is just so easy to jump in and out of when you have just a little bit of time. I'm going to be playing this game forever, man. It's just so good.
I'll have to disagree with you for a little bit. I don't think it's the easiest to jump in and out of when you have a little time. It's the easiest to jump into when you have a little time, but then you end up missing appointments because it's actually hard to jump out of
it. Yeah, that's absolutely true. That is absolutely true. So some of the bigger news to come out of Paris Games Week were some game announcements by Sony, and there are 3 new games announced, kind of like AAA type games, and actually some others, but 3 were kind of announced together, and those were Boundless, Matterfall, and Vector. Now Boundless, I don't know a ton about. It didn't look that interesting to me. It's like a kind of an MMO type thing, I guess. I don't know. Everyone plays together in like one online universe, and it's like a big open-ended game, and you're like exploring some home world or something. I don't really understand exactly what it is. It didn't look that interesting to me. I don't know if it looked interesting to you guys or not. Vector is another one that's kind of like looks like it could be okay, but I'm not sure if it's like a big deal. But Matterhorn is the one that stood out to me, or Matterfall, sorry. Matterfall is the one that stood out to me because it's developed by Housemarque, which we know for Resogun. Like Housemarque hasn't ever made a bad game, and I believe it's actually second party. They're not actually, I think, Sony owned, but they develop pretty much PlayStation exclusive games. I don't know. Did you guys see Matterfall by any chance?
I saw a little bit of it. It has this kind of sci-fi feel to it, and I I don't know what to think. I mean, I think it looks awesome, actually, but I'm not really knowing if the game will play the way the cutscene looked from what I saw.
Yeah, it was a weird trailer that they showed for it because I think what happened is it was like cutscene, and then at some point it zoomed in to what I think was like a snippet of actual gameplay. It looked like,
Right.
and it looks sort of like a like side-scrolling shooter in the vein of Shadow Complex, although it's probably not Metroidvania, but Shadow Complex was kind of what came to mind for me for that like side-scrolling shooter. There's another game on PlayStation that I'm blanking on where you're like a ninja and it's a side-scroller where you're like fighting dragons and it's all like kind of cyberpunk. I'm blanking on the name, but it looked sort of like that too. It was a PS Plus game a while back, like over a year ago. What's that?
Strider?
Strider, yes. It looked
Strider.
very much like Strider.
Oh, was that actual maybe gameplay? I mean, I saw that just for like a brief second, but I didn't know if that was just part of the cutscene or not.
It was hard to tell. I think part of it was cutscene and part of it was like zooming into pieces of gameplay, and it was kind of like Contra-ish almost even. And that would certainly sync up with the bullet hell style of game that Housemarque does really well. And maybe you're like a person instead of a ship like you are in Resogun. So I don't know. I'm excited to play Matterfall. I think that one could turn out to be pretty cool. One of the other big games announced, we know that Quantic Dream's been working on something for a while now, and that's the studio behind Heavy Rain, which was a kind of a big cult classic on the PS3. They did Beyond Two Souls for PS4, which wasn't received all that well. It was pretty poorly reviewed, even though it looked great. That was the game that had Ellen Page actually do some of the mocap and voice acting for that one. But they revealed their new game, which is called Detroit. Did you guys happen to see anything about Detroit?
I did not see much about Detroit. I saw a couple screenshots. Actually, the graphics looked really good, but at least from what I saw, it looked kind of almost like you were looking at clay.
Maybe. I don't know.
Just from the screenshot, I couldn't tell.
Well, I think maybe what you saw is like these characters are artificial intelligence. They're androids.
Oh,
And so
okay.
you may have seen like
That's probably what I saw then.
yeah, there's part of the scene where they're like kind of still in android form, and then they start like getting their skin like painted on or whatever, and so then like by the end of the trailer, like the woman looks like a real person, but she starts out like the whole thing is like kind of her being assembled, and then she walks out into the crowd, out onto the streets of Detroit. So the hook for this game is it's basically a story about androids and like how they fit into society, like in some near dystopian future kind of thing. We didn't actually see any gameplay though, and so. Quantic Dream's known for this like kind of choose your own adventure, like off the wall gameplay sometimes. If you think back to something like Heavy Rain with all the multiple endings and all that. So I don't think we really know yet what Detroit is going to be like in terms of genre. But based on Quantic Dream's previous work, I think we can discern it's going to be some kind of maybe action adventure game with like a lot of story tie-in and decision-making components and things like that, probably. I don't know. I'm intrigued, but I haven't been like as sold on that studio's work before to where I'm going to be rushing out to get this one, first thing. Also, I like have no desire to go to Detroit in present day or future, so.
Hey, property there is dirt cheap. Could be a good investment.
Indeed. Another exciting announcement is that No Man's Sky finally got a release date, June 2016. So that's pretty close, right around the corner, next summer. I'm still, the very first E3 trailer that I saw of No Man's Sky, I was like, this is the game I have wanted my whole entire life. And then this year's E3, I was like, I don't know. I'm a little skeptical of this one now.
I predict that it's going to be kind of like Destiny in terms of what they said you can do and then what you actually could do at launch. That's actually, in my opinion, the safer bet to make with just about any game that's released nowadays.
Right. Is that why you're breaking out your SNES all the time?
Hey, I mean, yeah.
They built complete back then.
I know.
Yeah.
DLC was called just making a sequel.
Well, DLC was called expansion pack for the
N64.
N64.
Any game that required that was terrible.
What, Donkey Kong 64?
StarCraft 64?
Well, that game was sweet, Josh. Clark, those lag times when you played multiplayer were pristine.
Pristine.
Added minutes on the minute.
I mean, it did give you enough time to go use the bathroom and come back before you unsieged a siege tank. So.
It's horrible. Horrible. Oh, man. Well, and so some of the other things, or at least the other cool thing that I thought that Sony announced that was worth mentioning last week is that there's going to be PlayStation Plus League, which is going to be like the esports channel or the esports like kind of organization for PlayStation on your PS4, and they're going to be prizes in the tens of thousands of dollars, it sounds like, in games such as Rocket League. So I don't know, you guys going to compete in the PlayStation Plus League? Nick, I think if you like cut back just like 10% on the Netflix, you might have time. You might be pretty good at this.
You're asking a lot. 10%.
Maybe 8%.
Yeah, I'm gonna be able to do 8. 7.5. Let's not push it.
I mean, it seems interesting, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Just competing at home. I think the whole esports competitive gaming type thing is a lot more fun when you're doing it out at
Redondo Beach.
Yeah, in Redondo Beach, or just at one of those convention
Super
centers,
Smash Con.
or at a convention center, or like a kind of crappy convention center attached to the side of a hotel. That's where the real competitive magic happens.
Indeed. Well, and I wonder how they're going to account for like lag and cheating and
the cheating especially.
yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how this shapes up. I don't think anybody will be like, I don't think Major League Gaming will be like rushing to get in on this or anything, but for the average Joes at home who spend a lot of time getting really good at some of these games, it could be interesting to see, winning some money and whatnot. Might be the new DraftKings. Nintendo came out with some news as well since our last show, and we know that the Club Nintendo program was retired. Now they've announced during an investor call that they're going to have Nintendo account. So you'll be able to log in with Facebook, Twitter, all those things that people have been able to log in with for 10 years now. You'll be able to like do that kind of thing with your Nintendo account, as well as log in via mobile now, it sounds like, and kind of interact with some of these mobile games that are going to be coming out, which, God, by the way, they announced their first mobile game is going to be a Mii game of some sort.
Classic
which is like,
Nintendo.
Classic Nintendo, man. Like, come on. You launch with Mario, and you will never have to like even worry if your console's selling ever
They
again.
didn't even have to do Mario.
Any of their first party IP.
Actually. Brain Age would be great on this thing. On an
Brain
iPhone.
Age, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and like all the Pokemon stuff, like Pokemon Shuffle's doing well, so like slap Pokemon on something, Zelda, Star Fox, Donkey Kong, anybody, like any of your characters, not just like me stuff, man. Come on. So anyway, Nintendo account.
Stop thinking about yourself, okay? It's not all about me, all right?
Unfortunately, it is.
Okay.
And then Club Nintendo, the rewards piece that we used to have, is now going to be called My Nintendo. So here's Nintendo yet again being very good at naming things and not causing any confusion whatsoever. And I guess it's going to be kind of the same thing. There are going to be rewards to get like DLC and games and stuff. I don't know. I don't understand why they had to retire like one thing just to rename it. It seems kind of strange, but yay, Nintendo.
Yeah, well, on the plus side, I heard you can earn points in My Nintendo by also playing your games, so I guess that's something.
It is indeed. That could be fun. Could be a good way to maybe snag some free stuff. Snag some swag.
Maybe they'll give you actual physical little trophies, so it's their form of giving trophies by playing your games.
I would not put it past them at this point.
They'll send like a little card out that has the actual trophies on it, and you get a sticker every time.
What if they just send us like what the most Nintendo thing ever would be if they just send us little like flip phones so we could call each other and have party chat during Smash.
But you need to input a friend code in the phone.
You both need to input it. You can't just input his. He's got to do yours too. Because if you just do it one way, it's not going to work.
Right? Oh, geez. Well, and so I did want to just run through the free games that folks are going to be getting in November. Another thing Nintendo doesn't have, a free games subscription service.
Honestly, Jeff,
But at least they're not charging us to play multiplayer online. So.
Yeah.
But games with gold for November for Xbox owners. Going to be getting Numa and Night Squad on the Xbox One. I don't know anything about either of those games, but maybe they're good. And then on Xbox 360, we're going to be getting Dirt 3 and Dungeon Siege 3. I'm actually excited to get Dungeon Siege 3. I think that's a pretty decent game. So I think it's an isometric, like Diablo style game, if I remember correctly. So it could be something fun to dive into for a little bit. And then on PS Plus for November, we're getting Walking Dead Season 2. So that's the Telltale point-and-click adventure game. I played Season 1 on the 360 back way when it first came out. Not a big fan of those things, but given that I already know what happened in Season 1, like getting Season 2 for free, I'll probably play through it. And then, gosh dang it, they're giving us Magicka 2 in November. I already bought that game on launch day, and then I couldn't play it because it requires, like, it's so difficult, it doesn't scale to difficulty, and you need, like, multiple players in your party to beat it, and the online sucked so bad. So
now
maybe
you're getting multiple players.
Yeah, maybe now enough people will be playing it, I can actually get through it, but I already paid for it. And then on the PS3, you're going to be getting Mass Effect 2, which is my personally favorite Mass Effect game. So that's awesome. That's a big game to be getting for free. And then Beyond Good and Evil, another awesome game, actually. Have you guys played Beyond Good and Evil?
Nope.
You know what? Make time to go back on PS3 and play that. In November sometime, maybe over Thanksgiving break or something. Beyond Good and Evil is like kind of a N64-ish looking adventure game with some stealth elements, and there's like some collectible type stuff, but it's not like annoying. It's like old school kind of fun collectible type stuff. And it has a really good, well-written, funny story. Like one of the main characters is a pig. It's a good game. Beyond Good and Evil is really, really good, so go play that. And then on Vita, we're getting Dragon Fin Soup. I have no clue.
Wait, that's the name of the game, or is that something you accidentally spilled on your Vita?
At this point, it probably doesn't matter. And then we're also getting Invisimals, which I have read on the PlayStation blog in the comments section that the Invisimals we're getting is not the Vita one, but the PSP old one. So we'll see what actually, maybe they made a mistake or something with how they listed it. We'll see what we actually get. But that's kind of weird.
For some reason, that makes me want to eat yogurt.
Maybe because of Danimals.
That's probably it.
So looking at Xbox One games with gold, or Xbox games with gold and PlayStation Plus for November, I think the winner is probably PlayStation Plus because Magicka 2 is going to be great. Walking Dead, a lot of people like. Mass Effect is a huge game. Beyond Good and Evil is one of the best. It's in some people's top 10 list for sure. Beyond Good and Evil is a great game. The Vita is pretty weak, but I think at least I've heard of all of the games in PlayStation Plus for the most part. But I am very interested in trying out that Dungeon Siege 3 on 360 because I missed that back in the day. So I don't know, not a horrible month for either one, but I'm pissed about buying Magicka 2. This is like the third or fourth month in a row I already owned something in PS Plus.
That's why you don't buy games.
Apparently I should only buy like the AAA like latest releases or something. I don't know.
Well, I mean, Mass Effect 2 is coming out as a free game, so.
Yeah, so eventually everything will be quote unquote free. All right, well let's get close to wrapping up the show and have a little advice for the week and call the doctor. And just wanted to give a little Halo 5 advice since that's been the focus of the show this week. Nick, you want to explain how finding intel works in Halo 5? And I'm glad that we finally figured this out.
I'll explain how Josh over here found something out and didn't tell anybody about it for half the game. But no, there's these random little data pads or swords, just little objects in each level that you got to find, and they range. You got to find 6 to 10 to 12 to 7. You know, just each level has so many. And Spartan Locke's team, by the way, I don't think we've mentioned it, Spartan Locke is the guy that seems to be replacing Master Chief for some reason. But when you're playing as his group, if you push down on the D-pad, you shoot this crazy little like wave of blue out. And if you're within any kind of intel, hidden intel or stuff like that, you hear this weird ding sound, which tells you it's nearby. And if you don't hear it, there's none nearby. But then if you keep looking around, where the intel is, this crazy blue orb appears around it, and that locates the intel for you. So if you're looking for intel and you're on Spartan Locke's team, just hit that down on the D-pad the whole game. You know, just run around, just smashing down on the D-pad. But you can also do that with Master Chief's teams too. He doesn't have that cool kind of blue wave that shoots out, but from what I understand, you just get a sound. So you can hear where intel is on his team as well. Just it's not as obvious. But lucky for people looking for intel, you only play as Master Chief for like 25% of the game, if that.
So,
yeah, and I will say sometimes if you're hearing the ping but you're not seeing the marker for the intel, look up. It's usually up high somewhere, and you got to find a way to climb something.
when you hear the ping, is that dependent on how far away from the intel you are, or is that not?
Yeah. You actually you won't hear the ping at all if you're not like pretty close to some intel.
So like as you get closer, you'll hear the ping louder or faster?
No, it's pretty much one sound if you're close, and then if you're not close, there's no sound. There's really no like varying degrees to let you know if you're warm or cold.
Mm.
Yep. All right. So, well, I think it's about time then we can wrap up this show, and just want to let folks know they can watch the live show here each week on Google Hangouts on Air. If you missed the live show and you want to catch the video, it goes up on YouTube every week. You can just search for the World Map Podcast. You'll find us. We're also at worldmapcast.com. And the audio, fully edited and produced podcast goes up on iTunes and Stitcher every single week. And you can email us your questions, comments. Let us know what you want to see more of on the show. If you got a question you want us to answer, you can send that to worldmapcast@gmail.com. And you can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram. And finally, review the show. Give us 5 stars on iTunes. You don't even actually have to review the show. You can tell us how much Halo 5 is awesome. Or how much it sucks because they changed so much stuff, or you can tell us what color your underwear are. Just give us a 5-star review and tell a friend about the show. And I think that's going to just about do it for this week. So what do you say, guys? I think until next time, we're popping smoke.